Hello, welcome. This video is a direct message to Gavin McInnes, and I thought it would be worth my viewers listening because there's very poignant, important issue to be raised here. And it's one I've been raising my entire channel the last 4 years since I got on YouTube. If there was only one point that I've ever tried to make, it was one that is very much brought to the forefront with this story. So for those of you who haven't heard, two Proud Boys, members of this political type of group, were sentenced today to 4 years each for an assault they got into, and I'll let Gavin McInnes explain. I'm going to play his YouTube video here in a minute. But let me set it up here first quickly, read an article, and then I'll have some concluding remarks. I'll try to make this as short and concise as possible, but I consider this information to be the most important information a man can know, so excuse me if I take a little bit of time. I'm first looking at a website called Axios. Looked like fairly independent to me. You've got to scroll down several pages when you do a Google search to get through all the mainstream media nonsense. Two Proud Boy members sentenced for New York City brawl. Now keep in mind, this is just their story. The video from Gavin McInnes himself will be played shortly. Two members of the far-right group Proud Boys are sentenced Thursday to 4 years in prison following a political street fight. They called it that, quote-unquote, with protesters, and by protesters they mean Antifa, violent Antifa, in New York City last year, reports the New York Times, which is a publication not to be trusted. Why it matters. New York State Supreme Court Justice, and this is the true enemy here. If anybody should be held responsible for this, it should always be the judge. Mark Dyer told the court that the sentence was meant to send a message to others who might turn to violence over political differences. How is it possible for one person to be blamed, to be held responsible for the weight of sending a message to all of society or the public? How is that justice? You're going to, quote, make an example out of him by increasing what would normally be a regular size sentence into this heavy sentence so that everyone else gets a message. I mean, who should have to bear the weight of that? Obviously, that's not justice. Obviously, there's justice system has nothing to do with justice, obviously. Here's a big quote that is just so disgusting. Quote, "I know enough about history to know what happened in Europe in the 30s." Close quote, he told the court. He compared 4 Antifa members who got jumped by 2 Proud Boys who had been chased and had like piss thrown at them, defending themselves. He compared that to the escalation of Hitler-level racist ideology that led to the biggest world war humanity has ever known, which concluded in 2 nuclear bombs. He compared this to the rising fascism in Europe that led to world. Are you fucking kidding me? A cop just the other day who shot an unarmed man in the back as he was running away just got sentenced to 1 year in jail. That Geiger chick down in Texas entered a man's home, killed him outright, 10 years. She'll probably do 5. Another cop killed somebody, convicted murderer, 5 years. And these guys get 4, and there's no victim that's claiming damage. Antifa's like, fuck you, pigs. No, I don't want to prosecute. Fuck you, police. So I'm not going to tell the story. It's tempting, but let me just go on here. A group of 10 Proud Boys attacked 4 people, this is not true according to what Gavin's about to say, who were protesting a speech being given by Proud Boys founder Gavin McInnes at the Metropolitan Republican Club. Prosecutor, and here's the second most responsible piece of shit that you really should be putting all of your public and therefore political pressure against, instead of letting them slip away into oblivion like this judge is about to do. Joshua Steinglass asked that the men Maxwell Hare and John Kinsman be sentenced to 5 years instead because, quote, violence meant to intimidate and silence, quote, doesn't belong in American society, which is goddamn laughable. What do you think the entire court system is designed to do? Especially every criminal charge where there's no victim and no violence. These people didn't come forward and say, yes, he beat me up, prosecute him. They dropped out. And the state, this vague state of New York, which doesn't exist, it's just a fictional entity, by the way, is enough. Oh, well, the government's going to assume the victimhood of these people who hate us And we're going to get retribution for them even though they don't want it. And then we're going to claim this clueless, just despicable human being, Joshua Steinglass, says violence meant to intimidate and such. What do you think the court system is? What do you think the police do? What do you think judges do? To throw these guys in jail for 4 years over an assault. You don't think that's violent? A violation of logic, ethics, and just basic human decency, respect for the individual and human rights as a whole? You don't think that's... Of course that's violence. And he admits it. He wants to send a message to others. That's intimidation and a chilling effect that will silence. They have the audacity to say that what they're doing is right when it's completely wrong and exactly what they're doing. How is this not called out? I'll tell you how in about a minute. Because when you're deep involved in this and it means something to you and you're the family and the friends of these people, and you don't, this isn't already obvious to you, it's because you do not know critical information that you need to know in order to defend yourself. You poked the bear on the national stage in the huge forum. It made national news. You got their full attention. You were the first to ever really do this in this common era. I mean, the state and the judges and the prosecutors and the government are scared shitless. Look at Hong Kong. Shit, look at the Arab Spring. Look at Ukraine. Look at Hong Kong. Look at what's going on in Catalonia. Look at what's now going on in the Netherlands. Do you know about that? Thousands and thousands of tractors converging on the capital because the farmers have had enough of this shit. And now Gavin McInnes comes up with a group of largely the worst in society, young, straight, heterosexual males who are white. And the judge has to send a message. I don't know. What's more frustrating to me than what the government does is how nobody has a clue of what actually is going on behind the scenes. And they're just like confused, as they have this feeling of they should know, but they don't know. And then they get angry because they're fearful, because they feel the threat and they don't know how to defend themselves against it. They feel powerless. Hence fear, hence anger. And you don't have to be. God, especially if you're in the comedy business, you should be mocking these people. But you'll only get to a place where you can mock them if you fully understand them and know how to defend yourself against them and know the game that they play. The only power that matters is public pressure. That's it. Look at throughout human history. What do all governments are tyrannical, by the way, what do all tyrannies require, rely on, deal with as priority number one? Public pressure, because if the public turns against them, they know their days in power are over. And not only are they over, they're likely going to be held criminally responsible for their legalized crimes and lose everything. They'll be lucky if they get away with their freedom, let alone their lives. If I had a stage as big as the Proud Boys or this event, I don't even want to know how many people I could impact and arm them. I mean, it's not me that's doing it. It's Socrates. It's logic and ethics. It's just learning how to articulate it. I'm not special. The information and knowledge is special. How many people could I get this out to? You have to know how to deal with courts. And getting a lawyer ain't it. Using bar members to fight other bar members within a society dominated by the will of bar members makes no sense. You don't go and play the Super Bowl when your coaches and the referees and the opponent team coach are all paid by the opposing team. Well, I guess I better take my chance. Give me a GoFundMe so I can get lots of money, so I can get the best lawyer I can and put more money into more bar member hands. The heart of the corruption, the heart of your enslavement. Let me compose myself. Thank God I know this shit, because I don't have to get mad at any of this. I went through that stage a long time ago. I learned how to defend myself, and I'm laughing my ass off because of confidence. Moving on, the big picture, due to success, by the way. Against who? Prosecutors and multiple judges. This attack mirrored This attack mirrors previous clashes between the right and left that ended violently, such as the 2017 rallies in Charlottesville that left one person dead. Go deeper for right and Antifa. Link. Okay, so there's the background. I probably spent more time on that, but too bad. Either listen and watch or don't. I don't give a fuck.
Proud Boys Max Hare and John Kinsman were just sentenced to 4 years in prison for defending themselves too much after an Antifa ambush.
Now, let me make it clear. I do not want to get my name associated with supporting Proud Boys. And not because I think what they're doing is wrong. I don't know anybody from the Proud Boys. I've never met anybody from the Proud Boys. I've never seen a mission statement. I've never seen them in action in person. I have no idea what they are. But what I'm willing to bet is they're just an average conglomerate of men, a little sample size of men throughout the country. And it just so happens that 80% of all men in this country are just dumb. And I don't want to affiliate myself with dumb people, especially those who are got a little bit of an inkling or persuasion to be okay with violence and getting in fights. No. Getting in fights is the last thing that needs to happen on our side of the game. That's what the cops do. And we certainly don't need to be fighting with other civilians like Antifa. We need to be laughing at them. If I'm fighting Antifa, I'm not fighting the police. And worse yet, even though I totally disagree with Antifa, obviously they hate the police. So, the enemy of my enemy, right? We don't fight physically. We fight verbally. We fight mentally. Man, if you're not hooked up with Telegram, an app of relatively secure communications, and follow the English speaking, it's called HK Guardians or something like that, clubs, groups in the app that are doing what they're doing in Hong Kong, you're missing out. Okay, they're paving the way. They're showing everybody how it's done with the latest and greatest technology. They are coordinating actions and reporting intelligence and surveilling the opposition, i.e. government, i.e. cops, live and sending it to everyone instantly. This is the kind of coordination you need. You don't go to a big rally, get all trumped up, even if it's a comedy show, and then Antifa shows up. They're simpletons. They're idiots. They're weak betas. They're not all betas are bad. Cowards who hide behind masks, all right, and use things like bike locks, and they don't have anything to do with logic and ethics. They have everything to do with fifis. Oh, I feel this way. I'm going to get emotional and angry because my life sucks, and I'm, the skinny loser who needs to group up with a bunch of others in order to feel any kind of courage in this world. You don't fight with those peons. They're beneath you. Let them do their own thing. Let them distract the police if they won't join up and make this happen from our side as a civilian population to their side, the government. That's the only conflict that needs to happen. Now, it's way harder to happen in America because we're not a homogenous society like so many of these other places. Why do you think they're importing all these immigrants into all these different cultures? Because they need us to be fighting each other so that we're not fighting them. They want the wages lower too. I mean, there's multiple reasons, but that's the biggest one. Because they look around. Look at South Korea. Look what happens when their president, whoever, prime minister, whoever, gets busted for corruption. They storm the whole Capitol. Just like Hong Kong. We look at this, the same footage. What happens? She gets busted out for 24 years. Now, the judge is reassigning that, but who knows what's going to happen. She got kicked out. Can you imagine that ever happening in the States? The president gets kicked out because everybody's storming Washington? No. And by storming, I mean just peacefully marching and assembling and talking and laughing and partying in unity. But let me get back to my point. So I'm not for or against Proud Boys, but I am for justice. And it sounds like these two got screwed. And there's a big message here at Gavin McInnes. He's flustered at the end, and I want to address it, and I'll get to it now.
You cannot be civil.
What we've got to do is fight in Congress, fight in the courts, fight in the street.
Their idea is, look, nonviolence hasn't worked, and we are going to try to stop this.
If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd, and you push back on them.
When they go low, we kick them. That's what this new Democratic Party is about.
Any bunch of groups that's calling you a Nazi or you're a fascist, I mean, look, they need to be mocked, okay? But we have to take them seriously because they are going to be a tool of the government. The government's, okay, let's take Hong Kong, for example, right? Just over 3 months ago, the government, in conjunction with, what's it called, Triad, like this known criminal element of gang members in China, they brought them over to Hong Kong, and it's like, hey, man, go kick these people's ass. We don't want our cops to do it because there's cameras everywhere and international condemnation. It'll hurt our public image. We don't need the U.S. getting involved in this, anytime soon. We need to quell this right now. So we don't want to do it, but we want you to do it. So we'll, grease your palms with whatever we got to do, favors or whatever. And then you go just randomly beat these people. And there are cops anywhere to be found? Nope. And when there were cops around, do you think any of these people got charged? Nope. I mean, I think I saw a report that like 6 of them out of dozens of these gangbangers ever had to face anything, and they're probably dismissed by now. The government loves gang members who will fight who the government doesn't want to win. The government knows that Antifa is powerless because Antifa will never be able to gain the favor of the public. But people who tell the truth and who use ethics and mockery and laughter and confidence, they appeal to the general fence-sitting public because the government by nature has to be violent and tyrannical. It has to be. There's no other way to manage this country unless you steal. And everyone's stolen from via taxes, and nobody likes it. So it's very easy, if you're calm and professional and funny, to get the tax victim public on your side. They know who their biggest enemy is. So they're going to use Antifa against you. So fighting against Antifa only plays into the government's hands. Let them do their thing. Laugh at them. Of course you got to defend yourself while live streaming cameras are rolling. And why? Because then you've got the proof. And then you've got the public and political pressure you need to win in court. Because you control the narrative. The truth controls the narrative, not the cops and the fucking prosecutors and all the dirty politicians that twist it to their political agenda. If you're out there doing this shit without a live streaming 360-degree camera, you're a fool. You're asking for it. And who's going to pay the punishment? Not only you, your loved ones. This one guy's got a newborn. What if the other guy's and a wife? What if this other one's in a long-term relationship too? You put a man away for 4 years. What do you think that does to a relationship? What do you think that does to his finances? What do you think that does to his psychology when it comes out? It's not just time they're being sentenced to. How much money do they got to pay? How much money have they already paid their lawyers? How much more money are they going to pay lawyers on appeals and whatnot? When you poke the bear on the national stage, you had better know what the fuck you're doing. And none of you do, Gavin. And it's not your fault. I'm not blaming you like I'm angry at you. I'm trying to get your goddamn attention because it's fucking important. You need to know how to be your own lawyer. You need to know how to harness and gain and keep and focus public and political pressure upon this corrupt despotism that starts with the judge and second command prosecutors because they're on the same team who pays them, who licenses them. And I won't go into how it's done, but it's this little word about jurisdiction and mainly pointing to the gun in the room and doing it in ways that hold them accountable. These transcripts should have been out on the jump. There should have been motion after motion for recording of everything that happened in court and release it to the public immediately. To have it live feeds in there like it was the damn O.J. Simpson trial. But your lawyer, who you pay so much money to and have faith in because you have no other options and you don't know how to defend yourself, is not your friend. You're paying him. He's no more your friend or cares about you than a psychologist as far as a listener. No, you pay that guy to listen to you. Is your mechanic a friend? Man, the more work he does, the more he gets paid. You think lawyers aren't crooked as a fucking question mark? Oh, no, I'm honorable. I'm a defense lawyer. Oh, you play the game. You're licensed by the enemy. What other membership charges people way ahead of time? Hey, I need a $5,000 retainer. Now I'm never fucked, and you are, depending on how this goes down. And then they charge you just because they think about it. Oh, billable hours. I got to round that up. What other industry gets to do that? And they all do it. They have to do it. So no other one lawyer can undercut them and start making it all competitive. No, we get a lot of money per hour, and it's all about how much we can get from you. And this is who you're depending on to save your life and your freedom in the most corrupt country in the modern world, the most powerful militarily speaking country that human beings have ever known. That's who you're going up against, and you're depending on another human being, not yourself.
I'm in shock. I just got off the phone with John's wife. She's in shock. They have a newborn, not featured in this picture, who won't know John when he gets out in 4 years. 8 years combined. 4 and 4 for a brawl, a barroom brawl with 0 victims. The Antifa who picked this fight backed out, insulted the cops, have no injuries. These guys didn't get to face their accusers. There was no accuser. The accuser was the state. It was the DNC. Last year I did a talk at the Manhattan Republican Club, like I've done many times before, to no reaction in the past, but this time they needed a reaction. The DNC were about to face the midterms. They were being known as violent. There was jobs not mobs trending, and they needed right-wing violence desperately to fit the narrative. So they picked fights all night. They attacked everyone who came to my speech, which, by the way, was a comedy show. It was a funny speech.
If that's a fact and they're constantly trying to pick fights with you, you must have a 360-degree live streaming camera with a big battery pack. And if this happens when big protests and events, it floods the cell phone towers and now the quality goes to shit. Oh well. You switch it to, high def streaming and tell everybody and pretend like you're live streaming still to protect yourself. And not just one camera, have backup, okay? Because shit happens. Everyone needs to have this. Everyone. You need the narrative to be controlled by the truth, not the police.
But within every joke is a tiny revolution, and the DNC doesn't want that because Trump cannot win in 2020. That's what this is all about. It's about Trump and Cuomo and de Blasio manipulating the courts to thwart Trump.
That may be their agenda, right? But let's say they utterly fail and the Trump wins. That's every bit as much of a problem for you and I. That's no more of a win for you. It doesn't matter who fucking wins. Government wins. And as long as government wins, you and I lose hardcore. I mean, not so much me, because I know how to defend myself, and I've led my lifestyle into such where I'm not afraid of the cops, and I pay them very little, which I can't talk about. And I don't have to do any of the shit they want me to do. And I own a firearm, and they don't know a goddamn thing about it because it's perfectly legal and it's where I live. And even if I run into cops, which I do on the regular, I always get my way because I know how to deal with them. But for you and the rest of y'all, it's just as bad. So even if that's correct, it doesn't matter for you and I, Gavin.
In 2020, I did my talk. Antifa were violent all night. They were attacking the venue before I even...
Did y'all see that? Those 2 anarchy symbols there? Antifa actually paints anarchist symbols. A with a circle in it. I could go on right now for a long time about that, but I won't because it's outside the scope of this. But that's disgusting. They have nothing to do with anarchy. They don't know what anarchy is. They're angry and nihilistic, and they want to see the whole system fail and all the rich people to lose their money so that they can have it. And chaotic and violence. That's not anarchy at all. Anarchy simply means I don't want any rulers. I don't want any masters. Maybe a government. Maybe if it's voluntary and actually just and fair and subservient to the public, but not what we have right now. It's not chaos and the propaganda. So every time Antifa puts on an anarchist symbol, it's a fucking lie. Fuck Antifa.
Showed up, vandalizing it, threatening violence. They beat the crap out of a reporter, stole his equipment. 0 charges, 0 media attention. 3 guys, Caleb Perkin, Kai Russo, and Finn Barcelona, got away with assault. They got away with felonies that night. No mention of it in the media. At the end of my talk, About 10 Proud Boys were leaving the event, escorted by police. 2 of them, Max and John, were ahead of the crowd. Turned a corner. They were ambushed by 6 Antifa.
6 individuals circled the block and came 82nd Street, Lexter Park to try to intercept the group.
6 Antifa ambushed 2 Proud Boys. This was made very clear by the police. The 6 Antifa jumped them, threw a bottle of piss at them. Max ran up, ripped their mask off. Then the rest of the Proud Boys came around the corner. 2 of the 6 Antifa ran away. 4 stayed. They got beaten up by Proud Boys for picking a fight.
Well, look, you can't keep beating somebody and beating somebody and beating somebody and beating somebody when they're obviously already incapacitated. Even if they deserve it, even if you're totally on adrenaline, okay? If you involve yourself in these types of skirmishes, you're a young man, you've got all this testosterone and hormones going on, you get hyped up because you get in a fight, nature calls, man, I get it, I've been there. But you're on the biggest stage of the stages. You can't do that and expect to just get away with it scot-free. Especially when you are the Truth Brigade and Antifa is a bunch of dumb shit gangbang members who hate the police but are actually the unwittingly police puppets who will never get any power because, again, they'll never get the favor of the public. If they jump those guys, get all hyped up and really beat their ass, that's too far. You can't do that. You just crossed the ethical line and you've lost. Even though it's not fair, even though you didn't start it. You've got to maintain public favor. And beating the shit out of someone beyond the capacity, where they're incapacitated, you lose public favor then, right? You knock them out, you lose public favor. It's a hard standard to hold. I know, man, I know. Easier said than done. But if somebody comes at me like that, I'm going to do what I got to do until they're incapacitated, and I'll be like, yo, and I'm leaving, right? Then I'm going to call the police and be like, look, I don't need you, I don't want you, but I'm recording this call, and just for the record, this is what happened. I'm not giving you any information about myself, not until you catch me and decide to prosecute me, because you shouldn't, because this is self-defense in every stretch of the word, and I've got it on tape. These guys attacked me, I defended myself, I incapacitated them, and I immediately left. I'm calm and cool as a cucumber, and you can hear that in my voice. You got any questions? You've got to know how to deal with the situation. That's why I would never get involved with Proud Boys, because I know there's a whole ton of dudes in there who do not know how to defend themselves, and they're full of, I'm going to beat this guy up. So you kind of lost it a little bit there. Do they deserve prison? Absolutely not.
The police showed up 17 seconds into this silly brawl. And the cop said to Antifa, do you want to press charges? And Antifa said, fuck you, pig. I just got punched in the face like 70 times or something like that.
Now, don't you think it's funny? I would have thought he would have mentioned this. Did they go to the Proud Boys and say, hey, do you want to press charges? These guys jumped you. We're here to escort you to prevent this from happening, and they jumped you. By the way, what were your boys doing ahead of the police escort? What were they doing? I mean, I know you can just go off and do whatever you want. You don't need a police escort. A police escort is not for protection. Obviously, these guys can protect themselves, okay? The police escort is so that this can't happen. So that there's all kinds of more pressure and witnesses than just 2. If you're 2, you're isolated. You're unprotected. Look at nature. And pack animals, individuals don't go wandering off on their own when there's predators around. They stay with the pack. And it's not because they lack courage. It's because in this day and age, with human beings and the complex creatures that we are and all the political bullshit and everything else in between them behind the scenes, you can't risk it, especially when you don't have live streaming cameras.
They were pumped, the Proud Boys, after this. At one point, Max yelled, there was fucking 4 of them. He was proud of himself for beating back an ambush. The media spun that into him saying, there were fucking foreigners. De Blasio, Cuomo, the Attorney General, Lanceman, all these municipal politicians started pushing this fake narrative that it was a hate group that were roaming the streets looking for enemies.
I believe that and expect that. This is what the system does. These politicians don't give a flying fuck. None of them give a flying fuck about the truth. or what's logic, or what's ethics. They don't give a shit. All they care about is how can I get more political power, money. I don't want to be coerced by the higher-ups. How can I get to the very highest of the higher-ups? It's an ego game. I'm already rich. I don't need money. How do I get more power? Expect this. This shouldn't come as a surprise. It doesn't shock me at all that they would just, oh yeah, he said he's a fucking foreigner when he said he's 4 of them. Even if I totally believe that this version is true, let's just assume it for the sake of the conversation. Don't be shocked. That's what happens. Protect yourself. Learn from this. If you don't learn from this, it's going to happen again, and God forbid it be whoever you are listening to me, you.
That bullshit fake news narrative made it to the courts. And then the courts amplified it. The judge basically called me Hitler and said he's sentencing these guys because it reminds him of 1930s Europe, political brawls in 1930s Europe.
Disgusting.
He's saying that he has to sentence these guys to prevent World War III. That's fucking insane.
How is that a surprise? If this happened to me, right, and 2 of my guys did this, and this happened to them, I'd be like, yeah, that happened. That was the thing. Because it's modus operandi. That's what they do. Why are you surprised? Look at Ross Ulbricht. The guy opened the Silk Road. Never sold drugs. Never a victim. No violence. 2 life sentences plus 40 years, no parole. 2 federal agents went corrupt, for profit, started dangling in Silk Road transactions that they shouldn't have been, and they only got like 5-6 years each. Ross is doing 2 life plus 40, he'll never get out, for making a Silk Road so that the government couldn't track people when they wanted to make consenting interactions with each other with Bitcoin so that the government wouldn't be able to know. Who do you think you're dealing with? These people make the Empire on Star Wars look like child's play, like a tea party. Darth Vader ain't got shit on these people. That's what you're up against. Why are you surprised? I get that you're outraged. I get it. But how have you not seen enough examples from living in this country for years and decades of worse, much worse? And now you're surprised? You're surprised because it happened to you. Wake up. If it happens to other people, it could very much happen to you. You're next. If they are able to get away with doing what they did to Ross Ulbricht, they can do it to fucking anybody. You're not free in this country. This is not a free country. Don't be surprised, dude. I don't ever want to see you surprised again.
This is pure clown world. The fake news is leading to real sentences. The left picks fights. The left started this. The left said we're going to beat the shit out of everyone wearing a MAGA hat, and they do it regularly, and regularly they get away with it. When we defend ourselves, when we stand our ground, we go to prison. What the fuck is going on?
And that's where he ends the video. I'm going to answer your question, Gavin. This is what's going on, okay? The government wants to stay in power, Gavin. They want to keep stealing, and they baby step, encroach more and more and more. They want none of us to have guns. They want all of us to work all the time and give everything we owe to them. They want slaves so they can live in their high castle on the hill forever. And their children and their children and their children, and they want to dominate the world. One world order, one language, one government. That is their ultimate goal. They want you to have nothing. You are not in their club, and neither am I. That's what's going on. You want to know what the hell's going on? That's what's going on. And because they can't accomplish that quite yet, we go, why not? They have all the guns. Why not? It's what it's always been. Public impressions, which is public pressure, which equals political pressure. From the current thing with the whole DNC and Tulsi and Clinton and Biden and Bernie, you look at them all, they're all just pandering to the sheep. How can I get the most sheep to like me and vote for me in the polls and give me their money? Especially rich sheep. How can I get their money? This country has nothing to do with justice or freedom or fairness. No one has a right to a fair... Look, forget divorce and family courts, because it's clear men don't have shit in any of those. Clearly. And we tolerate that. But even all the rest of the criminal courts and all the other courts, civilian courts, we have no due process. Oh, they call it due process, but it's only what they call due process. It's not actual due process. Same for a fair and meaningful hearing. You don't have that. You only have it so far as the judge allows it. Which is all the law is, by the way, anything a judge allows or interprets. Okay? Do you have the right to be informed of the cause and nature of the charges and proceedings against you? I don't know. You don't have it if you don't even know what that is. Are you presumed innocent? How can you be presumed innocent if you're already imposed upon by threatened with an arrest warrant if you don't show up to an arraignment? Comply or die, we will come get you. You will bend the knee. We will put you in the cage, and then we'll force you in front of a judge if you don't come here of your own free will. But we presume you innocent. Well, we'll threaten the shit out of you, but we'll presume you innocent. It's screwed from the jump. The government doesn't protect, therefore there's no contract between people and government. Therefore, we don't owe them any kind of allegiance. There's no actual contract between the people and the government going on. There is no consent of the governed. Without that, there is no contract. No contract, no state. No state, no citizens. It's just tyranny and monsters and sheep and victims. And we use all these nice illusion, flowery words so that we can feel better about ourselves that we don't live in a horrible society. But you do. That's what's going on, Gavin. And it just crashed right into your personal universe. Within your sphere of perceptions. It just hits you and yours hard. And those guys are going to go to jail. And hopefully they'll only do 2 years on good behavior. Hopefully they'll win on appeal and not have to go at all. Hopefully their wives won't cheat on them. Hopefully their kids won't, hold it against them. But you, again, you're poking the bear on the biggest stage. You had better know what you're doing. And in order to know what you're doing, you got to know how to deal with a judge without a lawyer. You got to know how to hold him accountable by getting the recordings and the words out to the public as quickly as possible and out on social media to as big an audience as possible. And then you're going to need security, because the more effective you get at this, the harder they're going to push and come at you. You doubt me? Look at Tommy Robinson. You doubt me? Look at Julian Assange. You doubt me? Look at Edward Snowden. You doubt me? Look at Chelsea Manning, who's currently in jail indefinitely because she won't testify against WikiLeaks. I know you know this shit, and you're wondering what's going on. How dare you wonder what's going on? It's been going on, and it now just happened to you. And this is a knee-jerk response, and I totally understand it. It's totally human nature, and I'm not criticizing you. I like you, Gavin. I think you're the shit, actually. I'm a fan, bro. I really enjoy your stuff. I've been watching a lot of footage of yours. It's a normal human reaction, but you're angry because you're afraid, because you're powerless. And you feel confused because you think you should know and you don't. You can know. I know. They raided my home over 7 plants and threatened me with a year in jail and like a $3,000 fine. And I told them, fuck that. And I was either going to strap up and go on a spree or learn how to beat them in the courts. And thank God I went on the internet and found people who taught me how to beat them in the courts. And there is no abracadabra recipe, magic word, hocus pocus. There is no magic motion I can tell you to file. There is no paperwork or just woohoo, just say this and the judge will go away. You have to bring it to them verbally with the truth of what an actual justice system should be and what they claim theirs is but isn't, and expose that through the Socratic method of investigation and logic, ethics, and actual reality while always pointing to their gun in the room, and then get it out to the public. Let me give you a tiny example. I'll end on this because it's the most important information a man could ever know in the Western world. Do I have a right to a fair and meaningful hearing? Do I have a right to be informed of the cause and nature of the charges and proceedings against me here today? Am I presumed innocent? Am I presumed innocent of every element? Is jurisdiction one of the elements? Am I presumed innocent of jurisdiction? Has the prosecution provided any factual evidence regarding the element of jurisdiction to the court as of yet? Yes or no? Not what is it, not who has jurisdiction, not any of that. I just want to know if a document has passed. if a piece of information regarding the element of jurisdiction that I'm presumed innocent of has passed between the prosecution and the court. Because if so, I'd just like to see it, and then I'll have everything I need to plead guilty, pay the fine, and leave. Well, you just said there was no formula or hocus pocus, magic, abracadabra, and you just gave it to me. What do you mean? What are you talking about? You just gave me one. Yeah, that's the outline. But of course, they're not going to let you go through all, let me finish it off. As if the judge says no, which they never do. Oh, okay, no, the prosecutor hasn't provided any documentation regarding the element of jurisdiction. Okay, then I move to motion to fail this, move to motion. Then I move to dismiss all charges until such a time as the prosecutor can file a proper case, and I assume any unopposed motion will be dismissed. Thank you and have a nice day. And they're not going to let you get through all that. They're going to throw objection, 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 objection. And we've got tools to deal with it all. We've got tools to deal with everything a judge could ever say. And if you doubt me, go to my channel and look at all the little playlist about all the times I went to court, dozens and dozens of times I went to court, recorded it secretly, even though they knew I was doing it and threatened me that if I did it, they'd throw me in jail, and they never dared do it. And I won. And they threatened me with a Class A misdemeanor, which is a shade off of a felony. And they gave me 3 plea deals. I rejected them all. The last one made it no more serious than a speeding ticket, no jail time at all, no fine at all. Oh, wait, I think it was $150 down from $3,000. They tried to bait me with this shit, and I told them to fuck themselves, and then they finally dismissed it because I kept saying, hey, if you're not going to do this, then I want a jury, 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 jury. They knew I was so good in the courtroom, and I'd be so damaging with a jury that I would win there anyway. So they go, okay, well, hey, Mr. Prosecutor, by the way, I got this motion here in front of me, he said, to dismiss because of evidence jurisdiction. And I said, well, you already denied that, but if you want to take another fresh hit at it, go ahead. He said, all right, prosecutor, what do you say? Prosecutor, I don't know. I'm caught off guard. I don't stumble around for 30 seconds. Oh, we got jurisdiction because of blah, blah, blah. Judge says, well, I'm not convinced about that, so I'm going to dismiss all charges with prejudice. I know what I'm talking about because I have the information, not because I'm a stud. It's just the information. What I have is the motivation to retain it, to learn it, and the cool under pressure to practice it, to try and get good at something that I'm not very good at until I'm good at it. And I didn't have a choice because it was either that or go crazy and take care of these people physically. And I had a kid, and I didn't want to take that route, even though I was open to it. If you want it that bad, you can have it. It can be yours. It can be anybody's. I've got several people who have come through, who have learned this, who have done the same thing, gone to court, recorded it, won. It's not a magic hocus pocus. It's learning how to verbally manipulate the situation so that you can humiliate them at every opportunity in the face of the public and the sheep. It's not to score cool points so you can be right. That's the furthest thing from the truth or the objective. The primary goal is to gain favor with the sheep because that is where the power is. That's where they're always reaching to for power because they're smart enough to know that's where it ultimately is. So we got to realize that too and be like, oh, okay, I can play this game. I'm going to win these people's favor more than you are because you steal from them. You charge them with nonviolent victimless crimes. This should be easy for me. Whew, that felt good. That was so therapeutic. I came across Gavin's video and I was like, man, I've been there, Gavin. I sympathize. You know, I've been angry and confused and not known, fearful before. But, dude, there's a way out of that. You've got a big-ass stage. I don't have to be on it. I don't know my channel. Don't mention it. I'm not doing, I'll delete my channel. And you don't have to give my name or give me any credit. Just give me a fucking voice, man. I'll teach you exactly how to deal with this. I'll tell you exactly what's going on. And don't believe me, Gavin. I'm so confident because I've done it. And I've been doing this for 4 years with countless people in many continents. I'm so confident that you will be convinced that I ask you only to believe yourself. And if your instincts say, F this guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about, he's just some sovereign citizen fool, then we'll part ways as friends. And no harm, no foul, man. Even if it's only after 3 minutes. I am that confident. You give me your level of audience, I will turn 180 degrees all of this around. I'm not making any promises because I can hand somebody a sword, but unfortunately I can't go into court and wield it for them. Oh, I've tried. They kick me out with a quickness. It's up to that person to wield that sword, but it is the sword. Good luck, Gavin. Hope you guys get out. I enjoy your content, man. Stay strong.